This is the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer, helping you to navigate your private practice journey. This is session number 90 of the Practice of Therapy podcast. Hello, folks. I'm Gordon Brewer, and I'm so glad you've joined me for the podcast. As I always say, if this is the first time for you to listen to the podcast, I'm glad you found us. Glad you're listening in. If you're a returning person, I'm so glad you're returning and hopefully finding all of this information helpful on the Practice of Therapy podcast. You know, it's hard to believe I'm at session number 90 already, and I think it is really fitting my guest today that she joined me on this episode. I'm so happy for you to get to meet Stacey Lanier. Stacy is a person that it was a big part of my life early on in my career as a therapist. She was my supervisor back when I worked for an agency, and she is such a delightful person, and I just love Stacy. She is, we just, I don't, you know, somehow or another we have just connected over the years and still keep up with each other, and she is just full of energy, and yes, I'm excited for you to meet Stacy, and we'll get to her here in a minute. But one of the things I wanted to just mention to you is, first of all, I need to give a little bit of an apology for those of you that receive my weekly e-newsletter or my weekly email that I send out. I really goofed on this last week. When I copied and pasted and was changing the template around, I double copied some stuff. So it looked like I was really kind of not knowing what I was doing. But after I didn't realize it until after the email had gone out. And so, you know, stuff happened. So it's kind of like there's one particular section of the email is a duplicate of the previous section. So it's kind of weird. So anyway, I apologize for that, but I'm human just like the rest of us. And so things like that happen, but we move forward. So just wanted to mention that here on the podcast, because I know a lot of people are listening to it. I'm just really still blown away by the number of people that are listening to the podcast. You know, consistently every month we get well over 3,000 downloads of the podcast. And so, you know, I appreciate you sharing it with others. If you're listening to it and enjoying it and getting a lot of stuff out of it, do share with your friends and share on social media. I just like for people to find out about it, because got just lots of exciting stuff coming up. I mentioned that, I think in the previous podcast, I've been working on doing some bonus material for the Money Matters in Private Practice course. And also I kind of made the kind of announcement that I'm working on a book in conjunction with that. It's going to be kind of the book version of the course. So keep an eye and an ear out for that as well. But you can find the Money Matters in Private Practice course over at practiceoftherapy.com/money matters. And I'm starting to get a pretty good collection of different resources. So you can always go to the website, practiceoftherapy.com, and just click on the link there for cool resources. And I'm constantly adding to those. There's some other courses that are available, G Suite for Therapists, which I'll take you through how to use the tools of Google G Suite for your practice and make it HIPAA compliant, and just the different ways that you can use those different tools for your practice. And then got paperwork packets. I've got also some other resources like the phone service I use, phone.com. Let's see, what else is there? Well, just lots of resources on that page. And I'm probably going to be revamping that page because it's starting to get kind of long, and trying to help people not have to scroll through all of it and find the resources. And that's, you know, I guess really the whole purpose in me starting this website, this blog, this podcast, is to really teach people what I've learned along the way, and also provide some good reliable resources, because there's lots of stuff out there. Some of it's really great, others not so great. So just wanted to let you know about that. And one of the things I'm going to be doing in the email, speaking of emails, is I've changed the format a little bit. I've changed the template, but I'm going to start doing for a while some some featured resources, just things to make you aware of. I know this past week we talked about two of my good friends. Katie Englert has a website called Practicat, and she's been a guest here on the podcast. So that resource is there, and also Practice Solutions. I haven't mentioned them in a while, but they're also a sponsor of the podcast, and they are who I use for medical billing. They're a wonderful group of people to work with, and they just make it so easy in my practice. And then, of course, TherapyNotes, which has been a sponsor for the podcast as well. They are the #1 electronic health record system. So just wanted to mention those resources and take a look at them, and go to the website and click on those links. And my friend Julie Harris, I'll a quick shout out to her again. Julie Harris has Green Oak Accounting, and they are folks that just work pretty much exclusively with therapists. And so there should be some links in the resources page to connect with Green Oak Accounting. So again, I'm just always searching for great resources for therapists, and just being able to help you find the tools you need to do your practice well. So as I mentioned, today's guest, Stacey Lanier, was my supervisor back when I worked at in an agency setting. I had made the switch over. She was my supervisor when I made the switch from doing in-home counseling, intensive in-home counseling. We worked with at-risk children and youth, but I became a clinical consultant for the foster care program. And so Stacy was the one that guided me through that process, and was my for lack of a better term, my boss when I was working in the foster care program for that agency. So, but Stacy is just a delightful person. She's from Nashville, Tennessee. She has started a new venture that she's going to tell you all about here in this episode. So, without further ado, here's my good friend Stacey Lanier. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome again to the Practice of Therapy podcast. And I have just been so excited to do this particular episode and really reconnect with one of my good old friends, Stacey Lanier. Stacey and I worked together back in our agency days, and she was actually my supervisor. We have just caught up, and it's just so great to have you here, Stacey.
Thank you, Gordon. I'm so excited to be here, reconnect with you.
Yes, it's just, we were just was chatting a little bit here before we started the recording, the podcast, but just really kind of catching up with our families and our lives, and our kids are all grown up now, and that's just hard to believe. I can't believe we're that old and all that kind of stuff. And so,
I know, it really is hard to believe.
Oh, I know it. So, well, Stacy, tell folks about your practice, and really, as I start out with everyone, about how you've landed where you've landed, and you've really started some new and exciting stuff. Just a new venture here that you're getting into, just in this whole wellness, mental health space. And so I want you to tell folks about that as well. But
Sure.
Tell folks about where you're located and about your practice and that sort of thing.
Sure. Excuse me. I am located in Nashville, Tennessee. I've been in private practice for about 12 years now, which is almost unbelievable. Right. Honestly, part of my story is that it's taken me 3 times to get it right. And that the learning curve was crazy ridiculous. And so the third time, they say the third time is the charm, and I really believe that. But I've moved, my niche used to be children. After I left the agency work, where we focused on foster care, treatment foster care, working with kids who had been through the worst of worst situations. I continued that work in my private practice and really, really enjoyed it. But, as the years went by and my children grew up, I shifted my focus to working with other therapists. Still trauma focused, consider myself a trauma specialist, and love doing EMDR, but realize that as helping professionals, we come to this profession with our own stuff. Right. And so now this is what I do. I work with other therapists and help them kind of work through their unresolved trauma. Right. Really enjoy it. It's super rewarding. Feel like I am doing a service, giving back to our community, and would not trade it for the world.
Right.
But
yeah.
But also have started a group practice as well, where my counselor I have one counselor, hoping to add two more. My counselor is more of a generalist, so she sees everyone at this point. She's working on figuring out who her ideal client is, and that's fun to help her with. But the biggest business venture that I have right now is I have a business partner, Dr. Ila Foster, who's a chiropractor. She and I have opened up a wellness space, a wellness co-working space called the Atelier. And that is bringing me so much joy. It's like a brand new baby.
Yeah.
Lots of attention in that area.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting how our, just our journeys have been so parallel, because you and I were working there about the same time, and we really left, I guess, about the same time.
I think so.
Just made that transition. And so, so I don't know that we talked that much during that period of time about, you were in Nashville, I was here in Tri-Cities area. And so we didn't really get to have much conversation about kind of our departure, but
no.
What was that like, and how did you come to that decision just to kind of make that transition and take that jump?
Sure. Super scary.
Yeah.
Super scary. I had no clue what I was getting myself into. Agency work, I'm super grateful for the agency because I learned all about structure and how important it was for me. I had always been, prior to that agency, I had been one who thought, I can just, fly by night. I'll figure it out as I go, sort of a free spirit. And that agency really helped me hone my skills organizationally. So once I received my license, I thought, well, I can go and do, bigger things, and made a couple stops at other agencies and realized that wasn't what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And ended up in a group private practice. Never had any clue or thought that I would be in private practice. And so went full steam ahead, jumped in, and the learning curve was ridiculous because that was something that I had planned to do.
Right. So as you have done this, what would be some things that you would maybe, for those people that are in the same position where they're, working for an agency, and I agree with you, Stacy. I'm absolutely so grateful for my experience in that realm, and I'm really grateful for the people that continue to do that work, because it's noble and important work, but also very intense and very demanding. And it's just, I can't tell you, firsthand too, just how many sleepless nights I had just worrying about, children and all of that sort of thing. But if somebody were thinking about making that transition, what would be some advice or some tips maybe that come to mind for you about making that transition?
Sure, sure. I would definitely advise people to have a plan.
Right.
Give a lot of forethought and find a mentor, a support person, a community of people to help you figure out how to go about it in a way that sets you up for success. So that you're not just jumping in without any a safety net, so to speak, but so that when it gets difficult, you know that you have a plan and that you're moving in that direction.
Right, right.
So your time doing it, don't do it impulsively, but be really intentional about what
Right.
you're doing.
Right, right. And I would totally agree. I think you need to be also prepared financially for it because,
Yeah,
you just don't build it and then you're full. It takes a while to build the clientele and build your reputation. And
for
that's,
sure.
yeah. In your experience, well, I'm just reminded, sorry, I'm jumping around, but
No, you're fine.
a quote I heard yesterday to, and it was a guy by the name of Hal Elrod, and
Oh, yeah.
in his book, The Miracle Morning, and he's got a new one that has come out. But the quote was, I hope I get it right. It says, "It takes 10 years to be an overnight success."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so what did you, in building your practice as you've done, what were some of the tipping points, and what did you learn from that as far as building clientele and getting referrals and that sort of thing?
Sure, sure. Well, one of the great things in starting out for me was that I had already had a network of colleagues. And so reaching out to them, not being afraid to reach out to the colleagues, let them know what I was doing, asking directly for referrals, reconnecting with people from the agency. That really helped a whole lot. Getting involved in the community and other professional associations, that helped a lot. I had a neighbor who told me, she was a gardener, and she told me I would go and talk to her during these times when I would be really worried about the practice growing. And she said, she used a gardening metaphor that has stuck with me. She said, Stacy, when you're growing something, you have to consider that, look at it in 3 years. She said, it sleeps, it creeps, and then it leaps. And that really helped me frame kind of the way my practice was growing, because when I jumped out there, I thought that immediately, the clients would come and the money would come. And so that just gave me perspective and gave me the space to consider how to grow the practice in an intentional way. Right. So the tipping point was when I couldn't answer the phone because I was seeing clients, and I had an aha moment, like, wow, this is working. And so that's when I started to reach out for help and to get my website built and a virtual assistant. And so those were some of the things that really gave me the markers that things were working the way I had planned.
Yeah, I can kind of remember that point myself. I was, and I know your model of doing practice is similar to mine. That you're insurance based, is that correct?
Insurance based.
Yeah, and that was just. I can remember the day when I was spending all day long on the phone with insurance companies and just thinking I could be seeing clients with this time.
Right.
It was just kind of. We learn the hard way a lot of times.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. So, wow. And so now your practice has grown.
Yeah.
And you've really ventured out into this new thing, Atelier. Am I saying that correct?
Atelier.
And tell folks about that.
Yes.
Because I know you're excited about that, and I am too.
Yeah, super duper excited. So the Atelier is, my thing is it's everything I needed when I first started out in practice. My business partner and I decided to start this this business because we needed so much support. We needed guidance. We needed direction. And we didn't get a lot of that early on. So 12 years ago, there weren't podcasts. 12 years ago, there weren't private practice coaches.
Right.
12 years ago, there weren't, EHRs. There weren't people who were like a brighter vision where you could go and have your website built. So it was all this kind of really difficult process and figuring it out ourselves. And so we created this wellness co-working space so that people who were called to do this work would have a community of other professionals who understood what it's like, who understand what it's like to build a practice from the ground up, but to have this support, this robust community where you can receive referrals, where you can ask questions. We know private practice can be isolating. And so this community is made so that people don't feel like they're by themselves and figuring out how to become successful, practitioners.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just curious. Are you actually providing a space for people to practice? Is that part of it as well? Wow.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have a 5-office suite. And so nutritionists, life coaches, therapists, acupuncturists can utilize the space. They can rent in blocks of 4 hours. So they can start where their business is and they can grow their business here and extend their time based on, what they need, as opposed to feeling inundated or bogged down with all of the pressure, the risks of going out, renting space, purchasing furniture, supporting, providing all the supports, Wi-Fi, and all of those things that you need to run a practice. So
right.
It's really exciting to be in this place, to be able to offer this to other professionals.
Right. And what I love about it is not only just providing the space, which is really almost the first step of starting a private practice, is figuring out your space, where you're going to practice, where you're how you're going to do that, whether it's telehealth or, face-to-face in office kind of stuff, or like we did back in the day, in-home stuff and that sort of thing. I love that. I love that concept. How did that develop for you guys when you started? You said that your partner really kind of, you all just kind of had an aha at the same time, or?
We did have an aha. Her name is Dr. Ila Foster. She's a chiropractor, and we've been friends for about 10 years now. We went to the same college in Mississippi, Alcorn State. And so over the years, we would just sort of be brainstorming different business ideas. And at the same time, I was renting my space from her within her chiropractic office. So we were actually practicing this model, every day. Mm-hmm. So one day I walked into the office and she was sitting at her desk and she had this look on her face. And I sat down and I said, I asked her, "What's up?" And she said, "Well, what do you think about a co-working space for therapists?" Mm-hmm. And I just kind of looked at her because that was a thought that I had the night before. And we both jumped up and we ran through the building to see if there was any space available, and we couldn't find any. And but there happened to be a sign in the front yard for space. And so we called the number, and the leasing agent came over and showed us that an attorney was actually moving out of the space that we're in right now. So everything started to unfold for us from that point.
Right. Yeah. And what I love about it is that you both are thinking outside the box in terms of, as I've mentioned on other podcast episodes, just the importance of, as you grow and as you scale, the need for diversifying your streams of income in addition to your streams of referrals, I mean, obviously, kind of at the core of doing therapy is being able to sit face to face with clients. But as you reach that tipping point, really, those of us that are practice owners, we kind of pull away from seeing clients as much and really focus more on diversifying those other streams of income, passive income, and that sort of thing. So I absolutely love that model.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that you're anticipating might be barriers that you run into? Noticed I use that word barrier. That's one of the words. But yeah, that you might
yeah.
A little inside joke, folks. Sorry.
Sure.
Yeah. So what are you anticipating down as you grow and as you move into this?
Yeah, good question. What we're doing right now is really trying to get the word out about what the Atelier is. When we started, I thought, I know enough therapists. I'm connected enough in the community to get the word out, and we're realizing that is not the case.
Right.
So it's taking a tremendous effort to get the word out so that the reach is so that we can reach our target market. And so we've hired a marketing firm to help us do that. But I think another barrier that is real to me is that trying to help other practitioners understand that this is possible for them. That yes, it is a scary step. Mm-hmm. Yes, it is a faith. And you can still do it and you can experience success, and let us come and help you, do this in a way that makes you feel comfortable, in a way that's where there's less risk involved. Sure, there will still be risks, but if you have a dream, why not jump out there and try it? But in a place where there's support and, where the fall may not be as painful as it was you and I.
Right. Yeah. And it's, and you, as you said at the beginning, Stacy, it's so important to draw, if you and I had the help that's available now,
mm-hmm.
in a whole different ballgame.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I just remember, just something as not as simple, but as complicated as, okay, I want to start accepting insurance and getting on insurance panels. Had no clue where to start.
Yep, absolutely.
Just learned it by getting out there. So,
yeah. And you know what, Gordon, I think that, everything happens for a reason, right?
Right.
And those experiences for us have brought us to this place where we can offer that, help to other people, because we were able to, we didn't have a choice in figuring out how to, get on insurance panels. So now it's simple to explain to others how to do it.
Right. Right. And I think the other thing too, that has probably added to success for both of us is just being persistent with it.
Sure.
Not giving up too easily. I can, I know there've been a few times early on where I was just thinking, I'm just this is too hard. I'm just going to go back to the agency, that kind of thing. But I think because we stuck it out and we were persistent, and as I always like to say, persistent and consistent.
Yeah,
we were doing it paid off in the long run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
So,
absolutely. There are some scary times there, where giving up felt like it was an option for a quick second, and then it wasn't.
Yeah.
When you have, what do? You can't go backwards. You just keep moving toward that dream.
Absolutely. And it's, I think the other thing too that has been a learning thing for me is just really the importance of breaking things down into smaller pieces, and then also for those people out there that might just be starting out. And again, this is a theme you've heard from me before, is don't compare your start from somebody else's to somebody else's middle.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, because what I have built in my own practice has taken, oh gosh, like you said, 12 years, since we were back in our agency days, and it builds on itself. And I think the other thing too is we can anticipate the future, but we really don't know what the future holds. Let's, like, for example, the space that I'm in now, the building I'm in, I own the building, which I never ever thought that would have happened, but it did, and it was just a matter of breaking it down into small steps and working towards that. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that speaks a lot to not being afraid to reset and to always be willing to shift, right? And always be kind of questioning, is this what I want? Is this going in the direction? Just kind of contemplative about, the business and the practice. Right. And oftentimes we get so busy doing, that we don't take enough time to just kind of be still and to sit and to, think about what's happening in the practice or the direction that it's going. And that's just as important as the doing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. You have to always kind of evaluate and assess where you are. And you're absolutely right. It's just be flexible to make some shifts and be, because it's constantly changing, and just, like with technology and all of that, it's a moving target.
Sure. I mean, I love what, Janik is doing with the slow down school. It's perfect. It's what we need to do at some points in our along the path, is just take a moment or two to consider, just to slow down and to let our thoughts catch up with, what we're doing. Right. It's vital.
Right. Absolutely. Well, Stacy, I want to be mindful of your time and respectful of your time. So tell folks how they can get in touch with you, and all of that, so they can learn more about you and what you're doing. Sure.
They can go to our website, Space by Atelier. Atelier is spelled Atelier. So spacebyatelier.com. We're on Instagram at Space by Atelier. We're also on Facebook at The Atelier. And we're also on LinkedIn at The Atelier. So there are several ways for folks to contact us. Yeah.
Great. And we'll have all these links and this information in the show summary and show notes. So, well, Stacy, like we said at the beginning, I wish I could give you a virtual hug.
I know.
A real hug, not a virtual hug.
That's right.
And I hope that when I'm in Nashville next, we can get coffee.
Oh, for sure. Please. I'd love to sit with you and just kind of reconnect again. This has been so fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Stacy, again for doing it. We'll do it again. We'll check back in later and see how things are going.
Absolutely. Okay. That'd be great.
All right. Well, take care. Well, folks, I hope you've enjoyed getting to know my dear friend Stacey Lanier, and do check out her website, Space by Atelier, and look what she's doing there in Nashville, Tennessee. She's really done a great job at starting a new, for lack of a better term, side hustle, or just a new business venture in the context of a therapy practice. And I think that that's an important possibility for a lot of us, of really thinking outside the box and being able to move into other ventures. It's exciting stuff. And I'm so happy for Stacy to be starting this business venture along with her business partner, Dr. Ila Foster. I think it's an exciting concept, and so I wish them well in this new venture. Do check out today's podcast sponsor, Brighter Vision, and if you'll go over to brightervision.com/Gordon, you can check them out and use the coupon code Gordon, and you can get 1 month free. They will absolutely help you with your search engine optimization and making sure that you've got a beautiful website that represents who you are and gets you your ideal clients. And I'm so glad to be partnering with them through this past month. So so check them out. Also, I didn't mention it at the beginning, but there's still time to go and check out Killing It Camp. And if you'll go to killingitcamp.com, you can register there. If you'll check out the previous episode number 89 that I did with Joe Sanok, we talk a lot about that and the importance of creating those connections like I did today with Stacy, of being able to help boost your practice and just really help you grow and really get your name out there. So, and it's not so much marketing. It's more than that. It's more about your own development and really learning from others. So go check that out, killingitcamp.com. Well, I think that's it for today, folks. I'm so glad you've joined me for the podcast. Do go and subscribe to the podcast wherever you might be listening to it, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Listen In Radio. I've got some others I'm leaving out, but that's Stitcher. That was the other one I was trying to remember. We're on all those places. So if you're listening to the podcast in one of those places, be sure to subscribe and share the podcast with your friends. I'd love for you to particularly if you're finding value in the podcast, to share it with your friends and so they can find out about it too. So take care, folks. I can't believe we're at the end of July already and looking forward to moving into August. So take care, folks, and tune in next week for the Practice of Therapy podcast. You have been listening to the Practice of Therapy podcast with Gordon Brewer. Please visit us at practiceoftherapy.com for more information, resources, and tools to help you in starting, building, and growing your private practice. And if you haven't done so already, please sign up to receive the free private practice startup guide at practiceoftherapy.com. The information in this podcast is intended to be accurate and authoritative concerning the subject matter covered. It is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, or producers are rendering legal, accounting, or clinical advice. If you need a professional, you should find the right person for that.